Your life as every rank in the Knights Templar. Level 1. The Orphan. France, 1119. You are 8 years old, sitting in the dirt outside your uncle's farmhouse in Troyes, sharpening a stick with a rock because it is the only thing you own that can be made into something. Your father died 6 months ago. A border skirmish. Wrong place, wrong road, wrong year to be a farmer in a kingdom that uses peasants as the first thing it throws at a problem. Your mother lasted 3 weeks after the news. Fever. The kind that takes people who have already stopped fighting. Your uncle feeds you but does not look at you. You are a debt in human form. Another mouth, another winter. 2 men ride into the yard on horses that cost more than everything your uncle has ever owned. Their mantles are white. On the left shoulder, a red cross, the color of something that doesn't apologize. They do not introduce themselves. The taller one speaks to your uncle in a voice that does not ask questions. He gestures at you. Your uncle nods before the sentence is finished. The shorter one tosses a leather pouch that lands in the dirt with the sound of silver. Your uncle does not look at you as he picks it up. You are loaded onto a horse behind one of the men before you understand what is happening. You look back once. Your uncle is already walking inside. The door closes. You face forward. You are not afraid. You are 8. You don't yet know enough to be afraid of the right things. The cross on their mantles glints in the November light. It doesn't look like a symbol, it looks like a brand, and in 10 years, it will be yours.
Level 2. The Servant Brother. The preceptory outside Troy is not a castle. It is not a church. It is something in between. Stone walls, cold floors, torches that never quite warm the corridor they're in. There are 40 men here, knights in white, sergeants in black, and boys like you who wear brown and have no title at all. Your day starts before dawn, not sunrise, before it. The bells ring at 4 in the morning for matins, the first of 7 daily prayers. You pray in a language you don't speak yet, Latin. You learn it the same way you learn everything here, by repetition and punishment. Mispronounce the wrong word and a senior brother corrects you with his palm. You learn fast. After prayers, you work. You clean stables. You carry water from the well in buckets that are too heavy for your arms. You sharpen swords you are not yet allowed to hold properly. You serve meals to knights who do not acknowledge that you exist. Your food is what remains after they are finished. The rule governs everything. 72 clauses. You memorize them. No women on the premises. No hunting for pleasure. No speaking after Compline, the night prayer. No laughter after dark. You break the last one on your 4th month, whispering something to another boy at the end of the corridor. A senior sergeant finds you. 3 days on bread and water. The cold stone floor is your bed. You decide you will not make that mistake again. You own nothing. The tunic on your back belongs to the order. The boots on your feet belong to the order. The thin blanket on your pallet belongs to the order. If you came with anything from your old life, a ring, a piece of cloth, a memory with weight to it, you hand it over. The order takes everything because the rule is clear. A soldier of Christ has no possessions. A possession is a thing you protect. And a soldier who protects things instead of God is a soldier who runs. You give them your father's knife. It was the only thing your uncle let you keep. You hand it to the sergeant without speaking. You do not cry. You are learning. Level 3. The Initiation. You are 16. You have been here 8 years. You speak Latin, French, and enough Arabic to survive a negotiation or an insult. You can ride, fight, and cover 30 miles a day on horseback without complaint. Your body is not a boy's body anymore. It is a machine that the order has been building since you were 8. They call you to a room you have never entered. The door is thick oak. 8 of the senior brothers are already seated at a long table. Candles. No windows. The preceptor stands at the head. He is 60 years old and looks like something carved out of grievance and patience. He has fought in the Holy Land. He has a scar that runs from his left ear to his jaw. He does not smile. He speaks the question that is always asked before the initiation. You are still free to leave. The door is behind you. If you walk out now, you walk out with your life and nothing else, and that should be enough for any man. If you step forward forever. There is no leaving after tonight.
You step forward. What follows is not what you expected. They ask you to deny Christ. The words catch in your throat. The preceptor watches you with no expression. This is the test, not of faith, of obedience. You say the words. Every nerve in your body screams that this is wrong. You say them anyway. Because the man who flinches at an order in a ceremony will flinch at an order on a battlefield. And on a battlefield, flinching gets people killed. There are other things. Humiliations designed to measure whether you can follow instructions that feel beneath you, whether your pride is still larger than your discipline. Yours is not. You pass. They lay the white mantle across your shoulders. Then they take it away. You are not a knight. You are not noble born. The white mantle is for men of noble blood. You receive the black. Sergeant's rank. You had known this was coming for 4 years. You take the black mantle, and you do not let your face show what your chest feels. Your name is still yours, the preceptor says. Everything else belongs to God, which means everything else belongs to us. You are in. There is no out.
Level 4. The Crusader. Acre, 1148. The heat is not like anything France prepared you for. 112 degrees. Your chainmail is not armor. It is an oven you are wearing. The sweat underneath it has nowhere to go. You haven't bathed in 11 days. Nobody has. The enemy is not what the stories said. Saladin's forces move with a discipline that matches yours and a terrain knowledge that exceeds it. They understand this land in ways you have read about in briefings, but cannot feel in your bones. You have been here 4 months. They have been here their entire lives. The rule on the battlefield is absolute. A Templar does not retreat unless the odds are 3-1 against him, not 2-1, 3. You watch a brother you trained with for 6 years cut down 40 feet to your left during an ambush outside the city wall. The rule says keep moving. You keep moving. You do not stop. You do not look back. You keep moving because the rule says keep moving, and because if you stop, you join him. You take a prisoner during a raid. He is a courier. He has a leather satchel with documents, maps, and a small bag of gold dinars worth roughly 80 livres. This is 6 months of a skilled craftsman's wages in France. You hand it to the marshal without touching a coin. The marshal records it. The gold goes to the treasury in Paris. You see none of it. This is not a surprise. You have nothing, remember? You gave that up at 16 in a room with no windows. You fight for God. The gold fights for the order. These are not the same thing, and for the first time, you notice the difference. You kill 14 confirmed enemies in your first campaign. You are promoted to full sergeant of the 2nd rank. They give you 2 additional men to command. No extra food, no extra pay. There is no pay. There is only the mission. You write a letter to nobody. Your uncle died 2 years ago. The courier who brought the news didn't wait for a response. Level 5. The Knight. That changes your rank happens at the gates of a village called Beit Nuba. Your commanding knight takes an arrow through the visor. He goes down. The soldiers around you freeze for 4 seconds that feel like a month. You don't freeze. You take command. You reorganize the line. You push the skirmish to a draw instead of a rout. 7 men who would be dead are alive because of those 4 seconds. 3 weeks later, at a formal assembly in the preceptory at Acre, a white mantle is placed across your shoulders, and this time they don't take it away. You are a knight. The preceptory's banking operation is run from a building that looks like nothing from the outside. Stone walls, single door, 2 guards who don't make eye contact. Inside, a clerk sits behind a desk with ledgers stacked to the ceiling. Every major trade route in Christendom flows through these books. Every king, count, and merchant who moves wealth between Europe and the Holy Land does it through the Templars. Here's how it works. A merchant in Paris deposits 10,000 livres with your preceptory in France. He receives a letter, a piece of parchment, sealed, encoded. He travels to Acre. He presents the letter. He receives 10,000 livres in local currency, minus the order's fee. No gold crossed the sea. No convoy was robbed.
No ship was sunk. Only paper moved, and paper is harder to steal than gold. This is not a side business. This is the future. You understand it the moment the clerk explains it to you. The sword made you feared. The ledger makes you necessary. Fear fades when knights die. Necessity lasts forever. The King of France, Louis VII, currently owes the Templars 40,000 livres. You have watched 3 different ambassadors come to negotiate extensions. The preceptor listens to each one with a patience that is not kindness. It is calculation. A king who owes you money is a king who cannot move against you. Debt is armor. Better armor than chainmail. You begin to understand that the order is not an army with a banking operation attached. It is a bank with an army attached. The cross is the brand. The ledger is the product.
Level 6. The Commander. You are 41 years old. You command a preceptory in Champagne. 40 knights, 200 sergeants, and 1,200 acres of farmland and forest that generates 8,000 livres per year in rents, tithes, and fees. Every sou goes to headquarters in Paris. You receive a budget for operations. You make it work. The local count came to you last February with a problem. He needed 12,000 livres to pay a debt to the Duke of Burgundy. The alternative was surrendering 3 villages and a mill. He asked for a loan. You structured it as a mortgage. The collateral is the 3 villages. The interest is 15% per annum. He signed because he had no choice and because you were polite about it. He calls you brother now. 6 months ago, he called you soldier. Amazing what paperwork does to a man's manners. You settle disputes. Farmers bring you arguments about land boundaries. Merchants bring you accusations of fraud. You have no formal legal authority over any of them. What you have is the authority of an institution that could foreclose on every property within a day's ride if it chose to. This is sufficient. People are very respectful when you are the largest landowner for 30 miles. A young sergeant under your command is caught stealing grain from the stores. Not much. Enough to feed himself for a week. You know he's been sick. You confiscate his black mantle and make him spend 40 days doing the work of a servant. The same work you did at 8 years old. You do this not because the rule demands it, which it does, but because mercy without consequence teaches nothing. He becomes one of your best officers. 10 years later, he commands his own preceptory. You never discuss the grain. At night, alone in your cell, you count in your head. 33 years since the farmhouse in Troy. 33 years since the sound of silver hitting dirt. You have never been paid. You have never owned a single object. You have helped move more money than your father would have been able to count in a lifetime. You own nothing and you control everything. The irony is not lost on you. It just doesn't change anything. Level 7. The Grand Master's Circle. Paris, 1305. The temple in Paris is not a building. It is a statement. Tower, walls, treasury, armory, a fortress in the middle of the French capital that does not belong to the French crown. This has always been a source of tension. Until now, the tension was manageable. Until now, the crown needed us more than we needed the crown. Philip IV, King of France, owes the Templars 1.5 million livres. This is not a number that can be repaid. This is a number that gets a man thinking about alternatives. You sit in on 3 meetings with the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, during the year. He is 70 years old, still straight-backed, still sharp. He has led this order for 18 years. He has watched the Crusades fail. He has watched the Holy Land fall. He still believes in the mission with a clarity that younger men have long since lost. He is loyal to God and to the rule and to virtually nothing else. Philip sends an ambassador with an extraordinary proposal. He wants to merge the Templars and the Hospitallers into a single order under a single Grand Master. Under him, Philip, King of France, Grand Master of God's army. De Molay declines, politely, completely. The ambassador leaves. You watch Philip's response being read in a letter 3 days later. His exact words are not recorded, but the tone is made clear.
Something behind his eyes has shifted, the ambassador writes carefully, like a door closing. De Molay says at dinner that night that a king who cannot pay his debts is more dangerous than a sultan with an army. A sultan fights with soldiers. A king fights with laws. You can kill a soldier. You cannot kill a law. You don't sleep well that night. The cross on your mantle feels heavier than it has in years. Not from doubt, from a different kind of knowing. The kind that lives in your stomach, not your head. The kind that tells you something has already started that cannot be stopped.
Level 8, Friday the 13th, October 13th, 1307, 4 in the morning. The doors do not open. They are broken. Royal soldiers move through every corridor simultaneously. Not just here, across France. Hundreds of preceptories, thousands of men. Philip planned this for over a year. The arrests are coordinated like a military campaign, because that's what it is. The charges are read to you in a torchlit hallway with your hands in irons. Heresy. Denying Christ during initiation. Spitting on the cross. Obscene rituals. Idol worship. Every secret the order has kept for 188 years is now a crime. You think of the initiation room, the candles, the preceptor's face. You denied Christ because obedience mattered more than comfort. You said words that twisted every nerve you had because the order demanded proof that your will was not your own. Every strange and humiliating thing they made you do was a test of discipline, designed to ensure that a soldier in the field would follow orders he didn't understand because the mission required it. Philip's lawyers have taken those exact rituals and made them the evidence. The things that proved you were worthy are now the things that prove you are guilty. The secret protected the process. The secret became the crime. 200 years of silence handed them the rope, and they tied the knot themselves on the other end. In the dungeon, the ceiling drips. 40 days. 60. The interrogators are patient. They have all the time in the world and all the legal authority in France. Some brothers confess to things that happened. Some confess to things that didn't, just to make the questions stop. You understand. Pain has its own logic. You hold out longer than you expected to. Then you hold out longer still. You confess to nothing. It costs you more than you can measure. The trials run for 7 years. You watch men you have known for decades reduced to documents and denials. The order's wealth is seized. The lands, the treasury, the ships, the 1,200 preceptories across Europe. Everything the order owned and everything the order never owned but controlled. Gone. Philip gets almost none of it. He dies in debt 4 years later. All 3 of his sons dead within 14 years. There is a curse. People say de Molay pronounced it from the stake. You were not there. You believe it anyway. Level 9, The Burning, March 18th, 1314, the Ile de la Cité, Paris. You are 83 years old. They released you 6 months ago. Too old to matter. Too sick to flee. You stand in the crowd like any other old man in a gray cloak. Nobody knows your face. You gave up your name at 16 in a room with no windows. You never quite got it back. The scaffold is built on a small island in the Seine. Jacques de Molay is brought out in chains. He is 82. He looks the same as he did in 1305, straight-backed, still sharp. His eyes find the crowd and move through it like he is looking for something specific and has already decided whether it is there. The sentence is read: perpetual imprisonment since he confessed. The lawyers are already waving their documents when de Molay speaks. He recants. Everything he confessed to, he says, was false, extracted by pain and fear from a man who had run out of both. The order was innocent. He was innocent. He says it clearly, in the open air, in front of whoever cares to listen. The men around Philip don't wait for the sentence to be changed. They light the fire immediately. You watch the smoke rise. You have nowhere to go and nothing to carry. You watch it until there is nothing left to watch. You think about a farmhouse in Troyes, a yard, dirt, a stick sharpened to a point because it was the only thing a boy owned that could be made into something. 2 men on white horses, silver in the dirt, a door closing. You gave them 65 years.
You gave them your name and your possessions and your silence and your body and your kills and your labor and your years. Every secret you kept made them richer. Every battle you fought made them safer. Every prayer you said at 4 in the morning in the cold dark held something together that is now burned to ash in the middle of the Seine. You started with nothing. They gave you God and a cross. You gave them everything that followed. And when it was useful to call you a heretic instead of a soldier, they made the paperwork say heretic. You walk away from the river. Gray cloak, no mantle, no cross. In a city of 100,000 people, not one person looks at you. You started with nothing. It turns out that is exactly what they give back.